Is Orphan First Kill a worthwhile sequel, or should it have just been left on the idea pile? Hey everyone, welcome to the Fortress of Solitude podcast. I'm your host, Sergio Pereira, and I'm joined once again by the Fortress editor, Jared Saunders. Jared, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. You sound a bit under the weather now. I probably gave
Yeah.
you some of my jabs from the last time.
Yeah, when we did the Prey podcast, you kind of transferred it. I don't know how, but what is a
internet.
conspiracy? Yeah, 5G. It's a 5G conspiracy.
Yeah, definitely 5G.
5G. I got sick somehow. Yeah, no, I'm actually the tail end of a bit of a head cold, but I'm feeling better. I'm feeling up for this, and I'm actually quite excited to chat about the movie we're going to be chatting about today because it's something different. It's a franchise that I think actually hasn't got as much attention as perhaps what it should. And obviously, we're chatting about Orphan First Kill, but the first movie was actually released in 2009, if I'm not mistaken, which was Orphan, and it was such an interesting twist, like how nobody expected that to happen, and suddenly, you think it's like a murdered child and it's something else, whatever. And now, obviously, all these years later, we have Orphan First Kill. But what's interesting is they still have the original actress who played the child version, effectively, of Esther, and now she's grown up. She's in her 20s.
Yeah,
so,
it's very weird. It's a weird.
I got to admit, when I heard Isabelle Fuhrman was returning for this, I was a little bit skeptical. I was like, huh? How is this going to be possible? Because, I mean, compared to when she was a child, it was understandable. And obviously with the whole twist and everything there, I mean, it's a movie you got to check out for yourself if you haven't. I mean, we're not going to be discussing the twist here or whatever, but it's something you got to go check out for yourself. And once you understand, you're like, how does it make sense? And you and I had a bit of a discussion about that as well. And especially how they had to use sort of clever techniques and all that stuff. And obviously, you as a filmmaker, Jared, what did you think of how they managed to actually make Isabelle actually look effectively still a little girl?
You know what was surprising is that I was actually, because I was aware of it, I was looking out for it the whole time, like watching what they were doing to make this much older person look like a kid,
Yeah.
And it's not like the Lord of the Rings where you kind of just shrink hobbits or whatever.
Yeah,
There's more involved here because they essentially have to make an older person look younger, and it's not done with CGI or anything like that. It's done with makeup and clever camera angles. And I actually saw a photo today where they showed that the rest of the cast had to wear these huge boots to make them look much taller than the lead actress, to make her look short, which was very interesting. It's very interesting technique. So, I think they pulled it off. I mean, at the beginning, you can sort of tell that, there's trickery involved, but eventually you sort of get into it and you forget that this is an older person playing a younger person.
Yeah, I think especially in the earlier scenes of the movie, obviously we're not going to go into too many spoilers here, but there's a lot of movement from basically obviously Esther / Helena. There's a lot of movement around. There's a lot of quick changeovers and quick transitions between the shots because it has to obviously go to the body double, which is a child running away versus that. And you kind of notice that a little bit. Obviously, all the quick cuts quickly, but as the movie goes on, as you're right, when there's more of conversational scenes and stuff like that, they do that quite well. And what I actually think is quite interesting is considering obviously the twist that exists in the series, Isabelle is actually technically closer to the right age what the character should actually be now versus all those years back when the first Orphan.
That's
it's kind of interesting how it is, and it's actually, this is technically more of an accurate story, if you want to call it that, than the other one, but it is a prequel at the end of the day. So that's the thing, it's a prequel / it is considered a prequel here, but I do think it can also be interpreted as a sequel in a certain way. I think, it's one of those stories where you don't necessarily need to have watched the other one to understand what's going on, which I think is wonderful. Sometimes,
it stands on its own. Yeah, it could stand on its own,
So I think it's done that way, and I mean, there's obviously like a new cast members here. I mean, Julia Stiles. I mean, I gotta say, I was actually quite surprised by her. For me, she was one of the standouts in the movie.
Yeah, for me, she was the best thing about the movie. Actually, like I thought she was fantastic. Like she pulled off like an amazing character. In fact, I'll go as far as to say is, if she didn't do such a good job, the rest of it would have fallen flat. Like,
Yeah, I completely get what you're
she
saying.
sold
Yeah.
it. I think she sold the whole thing completely.
Yeah, it was just like because her character actually starts off a little bit as a sort of a generic trope character. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
it's a sort of character you're used to seeing in a lot of movies, and you're watching it like, oh, okay, this feels exactly familiar. I know where this is going, and then suddenly the movie like slaps you halfway, and you're like, whoa,
yeah,
what? I did not see that coming at all.
yeah,
So, yeah, there definitely is like a really good twist, and I think that's what actually makes this quite interesting as a movie, is because the original, obviously, you can't replicate that massive twist that
yeah,
happened in the first movie. You
yeah,
cannot replicate that at all. It's
yeah,
difficult. It's like everyone knows what the shock factor was in the movie. Like you don't have a oh man, what did I just see sort of moment. So you kind of knew it was coming,
yeah,
and that was one of my concerns for the movie. I'm like, okay, well, as a prequel, maybe I'll just be exploring more of a backstory. But how are we going to be shocked? How are we going to get that sort
yeah,
of like terrifying element, like where we're like, whoa, I did not see this coming? And I think that Julia Stiles as Trisha Albright, I think she managed to actually to do that, and she managed
yeah,
to convince us.
yeah.
And,
I agree 100%.
and how would you say, like, for you compared to the first movie, how did you find this one? Did you find it was a welcome sort of prequel added to the story, or do you feel like it missed a few marks?
Look, initially, like when I was watching it, I initially thought, oh, this is very generic. They're essentially just going to show like this little girl killing people again, and I was like, oh, this is so uninteresting. And like halfway through the movie, like you said, there's a big twist, and the twist almost makes the rest of it worth it. Like it brings something such a cool element to the story that you're actually interested in what's going to happen after that.
Yeah, yeah. No,
But
definitely. I think
but on your question about how does it compare to the first one, um, eesh, the first one was very strong. Like I remember watching it in the cinema and going like, especially when the twist happened, like I was like, what? Like it was like the biggest shock ever. Like it was one of those movies like you have to go back and watch it again, like just to make sure that you didn't miss what you missed, to see what you missed.
yeah.
But this one, when the twist happens, it's surprising, but doesn't have that same feel. So it was never going to be as good as the first movie, because you're
Yeah.
kind of going into it expecting, and you knowing like what you know about the first movie already. So it's interesting. It's a good sequel, but it's not Terminator 2. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I get what you mean. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. It's like when I watched the first one, it reminded me a little bit of, not because of the twist or anything like that, but it's just kind of a bit of the shock that I kind of experienced when I first watched Hide and Seek, the movie with Robert De Niro and Dakota Fanning. That one like a couple of years back, where I was not expecting.
I have not seen that. Wait, hold up. I have not seen that one.
You have not seen that. Okay,
I
wow.
have not seen
You
that
need
one.
you need to remedy that. But anyways, it reminded me a little bit of that movie in the sense of like it caught you. Like obviously when you go watch your sort of movies, you know there's a twist, there's an angle that you need to be looking out for. It's like
Yeah.
we've discussed it with M. Night's movies as well. You kind of know that there's something there. You're looking for it. You are aware, and you're like. And even before you go into the movie, you're trying to piece it together. And like throughout the movie, you're like, oh, this is good. And then they catch you completely off guard. And that's how I found like the first Orphan as well. So going into this, going into like the prequel here, Orphan First Kill, it was a little bit difficult. You're kind of looking at it, you're like, okay.
Did you expect a twist in the second movie? I didn't.
No, I didn't.
It to be
I didn't expect it at all.
I expected it to be very generic, or like just follow, because knowing what we know about the first movie, I didn't think there could be more to it.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, I'll accept this for what it is. But when the twist happens, you're like, okay, wow, they managed
exactly.
to bring another surprise to this whole thing.
It was wild. Like, I mean, the way that it just happened, I was like, well, hold on, did I just see that right? Like, like pause quickly, go back a little bit, like, wait, did this like really happen? And it was a cool like little twist. And the thing is, for me, it was also, it was something fresh, put it that way. It was something fresh that, you don't really see very often in movies of this kind. It kind of, it was one of those that, it pulled a rug out from under you. And I think that is worth it. I think in terms of like entertainment factor, you kind of get sucked into it. Again, I agree. It doesn't necessarily have the same charm or the same anticipation that you had in the first one, because you weren't entirely sure what was going on. And you're like, is this child just, like this evil child sort of trope, or what's going on here, versus like, like what it actually ended up being. And with this one, it's something very, very similar. But yeah,
it does feel like there was a big budget cut as well, right? Like, I don't know, this felt like it was made for TV, whereas the first movie felt like it was made for cinema. Like it was made for movie theaters. It had something. There was something about it, but this one felt like it was like a direct to TV type of thing. Anyway, that's the way. Well, it seemed like that way to me.
It was basically like supposed to. It was, the first one was distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures, and this one was basically Paramount got the rights to use rights for the movie. So it has got a limited theatrical release, but it's mostly video on demand and Paramount Plus. So it is pretty much just. It was designed to be for streaming services. It's basically one of those streamers, like the sequel goes to streamers. Which, look, in a way, it does kind of make sense, because if you think about it, I mean, looking at the figures of the first one, it didn't do too bad. I mean, it had a budget of $20 million and it made over $78.8 million worldwide, which is a pretty good profit. So I'm actually quite surprised, come to think of it, why it didn't have a budget.
I think with Hollywood, if you don't go over 100 or 200, they basically think that they've wasted their time, I suppose.
I think it's also probably because it's been so long. I mean, the original came out in 2009. Yeah, 2009. And it's been, like 13 years now since then? And that is a very long time. Like, would people still care about, the prequel or sequel, whatever? And maybe also the fact that it's got that whole element of, the lead actress being de-aged without, CGI, basically, like just through makeup and stuff. Would that appeal to people? And I think a lot of people would probably say, "No, that's stupid. Like, how can you do that?" But actually, funny enough, it does work. And this is why I'm saying, like, there's a lot of surprises. I mean, the director's William Brent Bell. And what I find quite interesting about him is he was the director for The Boy and The Boy 2 as well. So he's done like these types of movies. This is his niche. This is like really his niche. So I'm thinking to myself, like, this is actually pretty cool. And I mean, also with The Boy, if you remember carefully, like the first one was also had like a really, really cool sort of twist and everything. And The Boy 2 was like super low budget as well, that I found. Yeah. So yeah, he's made it work. And I think that he's someone that like they should all be looking at the moment. Like, if you've got a sequel or prequel in the mix, like, you need Bell. Like, you need him as your director, because he makes it work and he gets it to work. So I must say I'm impressed. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much feel the same. I think it's a good watch. I think especially like on a streamer, it's a Friday night. You got the popcorn out, you've got the tea, you've got everything that you need to get the weekend started, the pizza as well, and you decide, you know what, I need something to watch. I think it's a very good watch. But to everyone else out there, what do you think? Are you excited to watch Orphan First Kill, or is this a kind of movie that you're going to give a skip? Let us know in the comment section down below. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Jared, once again, thanks for joining me. We'll catch up soon again. And to everyone else out there, take it easy, take care, and see you soon. Bye.